All right. Hopefully everything is working properly. We got about a few people in here already jumping in on the chat, so that's great. Sandy Blythe is here. She's always here. I love that. Yeah,
Uh,
the whole gang's joining in. Target Prime Rib,
hey, good old Target.
Mercy Me, Where's the Beef, Granny Boo. Hopefully, I'd like to know anybody in the chat. If you're having trouble hearing Ashley or Rhett, please let me know. It was giving me some confusing signals, but now it seems to be coming through fine.
Looks like it. How's it going, everybody?
We're doing
Hello,
great.
hello.
Well, this is exciting. This is the first time I've ever had a four-way stream on this, and I don't use the same format that everybody else uses with StreamYard. I'm getting jealous of the way StreamYard makes things so easy, but I've been using Ecamm Live now for 4 years, and it's kind of hard to switch. I don't know if you guys can see the chat on your end. If you bring up the page on there somewhere, you can see stuff. So if there's anybody you want to respond to, I'll try to post things on the screen too as we go. But welcome, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to having the missionary family that has gone carnivore. The video was, I made a bunch of little videos while I was up in Yuma, and this one by far outdid them all. So I thought, you know what? We've got to have everybody come in and talk again and maybe answer some questions because you definitely stirred up a whole bunch of folks to be interested in what happened. And while we wait for some more people to join in, let's see how many folks we got in here.
Mom and Dad, can you see the comments okay?
No.
Looks like
On the top
looks
right,
like you got 19
click on
people
the
in.
comment box. That'll pop out to where you can see it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we can see it now.
Okay.
There you go. I wanted Mom to see that one. It said, Mary, you're very pretty.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
I agree totally.
Oh, how sweet.
All right. Yeah, we got 19 people in here. We're going to get some more, though, I'm sure, because, like I said, this was a very popular video, and I just thought it would be great to have you guys come in because we did such an impromptu thing that day where it was just me pulling you aside and saying, hey, what happened with that? So
Yeah.
maybe
Too.
maybe we can start by having who started this? Who got you guys started? Which one was the one that said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Everybody's pointing at Ashley.
I guess that was me.
Gotta get these cameras
I'm
right.
the guilty party. Well, yeah. Now it was who started this really originally was I'm gonna have to point to my mom because let's see, she's up there that way. She really, as I kind of said at the Tennessee meetup, she really got us focused on a healthy way of eating when we were younger and really tried to do her best. Did we listen? Did we do the right thing? No, probably not. But she trained us that way to think a little differently by using various herbs and different things, whatever she could do to keep us healthy when we were younger without really honestly getting on a lot of medications or going that route first. It was always trying to heal a natural way. And so I'll say she planted the seed first. So she really got us started. But as far as carnivore goes and the new proper human diet of way of eating, that was me who first dipped my toe in the water. And, it was something that somebody asked me about when they found out about my type 2 diabetes and that it was it was getting rough again and I needed to make a change. And so they asked me if I was familiar with carnivore, and it was pretty simple for me. All you have to do is eat meat, I'm in. So it sounded great to me, and it didn't take me long to jump right in. I did some research. I'd already done paleo before, and so mom and dad were familiar with that when I did that, even though that was more of a well-known diet, I guess, at the time. So It wasn't as crazy as it seemed to just only eat meat and no vegetables. And what was I about to do? And I remember having those conversations with mom and dad. I said, "Hey, it can't kill me in 30 days. I'm going to give it a shot for 30 days." And so, yeah,
Yeah.
next thing we know, I'd done remarkably well. Rhett just saw pictures online and said, "Well, what are you doing? You're looking great." Now I'm looking at him going, "Dude, man, your face is so skinny. What's going on?"
Beef, butter, bacon, eggs, baby.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, really that ripple effect, right? Because Dante Ashley wouldn't have known about carnivore without Carrie, and Carrie wouldn't have found carnivore without you. So, that ripple effect is just, it goes through, and, so many people have great stories of the ladder that, that they followed to get to where they are today. And the success is thanks to those who are willing to share their story and,
Right.
and get that online to the public.
The carnivore family tree.
That's right.
Absolutely. It's just
I have
growing and
to tell you
growing, and
something.
that's the amazing thing. I got to share one of these comments with you guys. Sandy Blythe said, "Mary, you are very pretty."
Would you please tell her thank you?
she,
Well, she
she can
probably
hear
just heard
you.
you.
Oh, thank you very much.
I want to comment a little bit on what Ashley said about my wife really trying to get the kids healthy as they were very young, and she was always reading her herb books and things like that, and trying to keep them off of sugar, keep them off of things that she felt like were unhealthy for them. And we were working at a church in Levelland, Texas, and a lot of the ladies in Levelland just thought, Mary Lee is nuts doing all this stuff. And but before long, when they were constantly taking their kids to the doctor, and we weren't taking our kids to the doctor, she was treating them. They started coming to her. Well, what are you doing? How are you keeping them so healthy? So that was pretty neat.
Herbies,
Herbies, yeah.
herbs.
That was back in the day.
That was back in the
back
day.
in the day.
You don't want to get me talking about Herbies. We're going to pass that subject real quick.
We'll pass that one. But they
Really?
took a lot of herbs.
When you say herbies, you just mean vegetables, or is that
No,
something
no,
specific?
herbs.
Herbs in capsules.
In capsules.
Oh, okay.
That's what I treated them with when they got sick.
She had a book called Herbally Yours, and that was one of them she followed.
And let's have healthy children.
And let's have healthy children.
Yeah.
So, Rhett,
Do you remember the authors?
go ahead.
I was going to say, do you remember the authors of those books? That's because that's quite a while ago to have that kind of information out there.
Adele Davis wrote "Let's Have Healthy Children." I don't remember. Back to Eden. Don't remember that. I could go look it up, but I don't remember really the author.
I've heard of that one. I just don't remember who wrote it either. And I also want to say to anybody watching, if you have any questions for any of the Carnivore Brothers or their parents, or for me, please put them in the chat. Put a few Q's in front of it to let me know you have a question. I see our first question came in. And by the way, super chats are going to get moved to the front of the line just because it's, somebody's taking the extra step. So we appreciate it too. But let's see, we got a question here from James Black. Does anyone else have a problem eating a lot of hamburger? Anybody want to start on that one?
Do you mean because it's an addiction and you can't stop eating a lot of hamburger, or it doesn't sit well with you? I guess that's there's two ways you can take that. But for me, I take it it's so good. It's crazy to me that after 2 years, I still have no problem eating a hamburger. Or it seems like the same old thing to people, but one of my favorite things, our family's favorite things, is to do smash burgers on the griddle. So we do that very regularly, sometimes 2-3 times a week. Love eating a lot of hamburger. And then, of course, we do hamburger in a lot of other dishes too. But I have no issue with it.
I have a 15-year-old, and to keep him fed is tough. And so one of my go-tos is getting just some ground beef and salt and making smash burgers. And I make about 20, 25 at a time so that it'll get him through 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I will say, mercy me, if it's, or James, it was James, I think had the question there. Uh,
Hmm.
I will say, if you're having digestive struggles or some things like that, some people don't do as well with the rendered fat. So cooking up the hamburgers, if it's got a lot of the cooked fat in it, that may be what's causing an issue. Some people I've heard have issue with that. So, um, but what was that, Dante? You just put up there, I think.
That was
You
his
just
thing.
can't
He
eat
said
much of it.
he can't eat much of it. He's not sure why.
Hmm.
I can say that when I first started, eating a lot of hamburger was hard for me because at first I hadn't discovered the air fryer. I was doing it all on the griddle, and I always tended to overcook the hamburger because I was always told you got to cook the heck out of it,
Yep.
and I didn't know how much that was. I didn't know anything about temperatures, so when I would make them, they would be very dry, and they would tend to get stuck in my teeth a lot more too because I had a lot of crowns, and I had a lot of dental work when I was younger. Thank God I don't have false teeth. My father at my age had false teeth because we had a bad issue with that. Plus, I love sweets and things like that. And I had a hard time with hamburger in the beginning, and because it was dry by the time I got to it. And I didn't do butter because I was on the lion diet then, and I was trying to be very strict. I will say that now hamburger is wonderful, but if I have it with little chunks of butter too, oh, it's
Yes.
fantastic. And not just melting it on there. I've been making stuff for the kids lately because my whole family is getting serious about eating right, and I'm so thankful. I mean, they're not perfect, but they're making better choices. And I've been making them these burger, egg, and cheese bowls. I try to get real cheese for them, good hard sharp cheddar, something like that. Not the stuff that's just topping that they make, but at least it gets them on the right track, and they love them. And pasture raised eggs, so they're getting good quality meat, and that's what makes me happy that they like them, and it's been working really good. But I can understand some folks having a hard time with a lot of hamburger. I remember the first time I bought a whole cow, I was surprised at how many
Yeah.
boxes of hamburger I got. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm a steak because I was getting steak at the beginning of this, $5.99 a pound when it would go on sale, and I would fill my freezer as much as I could. But when I started buying whole cows, I thought, nah, this I'm really going to save money. But when I thought about broke down the price between burger and regular and the cuts of meat, the prime cuts, the things you really like, it was like, okay, $10 a pound isn't so bad for ribeyes and New York strip steaks, but all this hamburger at $10 a pound was a little bit rough. But it was
Right.
grass finished, raised properly, no chemicals. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that's worth paying a little extra for anyway. So I was thankful to get it.
I
What?
really like it
Agreed.
myself, and Mary Lee's not as fond of it. But anyway, we go ahead and eat it when we can. And we got some the other day. Ashley, I think you put us on to it. It was like about $2 a pound, $1.97 or something.
Yeah, they had a digital deal on, and so I always watch for those deals. And when we get those deals, I try and buy as much as I can. I think it was $2.97, but
Was it 2.97? I couldn't
yeah,
remember
but
exactly.
still good deal. So take advantage of it
Yeah.
when it goes on sale for sure.
Yeah, and I know there's some of the other people out there who are well known on YouTube, like Raina over at 5 Minute Body. That's all she eats is hamburger. And I don't think it's a cost issue for her. It just worked out well. Now, I will say that hamburger is fantastic for people who are on a budget. And if you can get butter, like I go to Aldi to get butter because I mean the price on their butter, their grass-fed butter over there is so much better than anything else you're going to find, and it's so good. Uh,
Yeah.
Mix that in with your burger. If you're having trouble eating burger, it'll change things for you. I promise you that. Now I want to say one thing. I'm going to show my ignorance here, and there's a few people in the chat that have already talked about how they like them. What is a smash burger?
Oh, smash burger is, I don't know. It's just, I guess, it's named because you smash it. But you typically you ball up some ground beef, and we just put it on the flat top griddle, so get it good hot. So when you put it on, you hear a good sear, and you take I'll grab it a second if you want to see it, but it's a little flat iron basically, and you smash it down and make it good and flat. But what that does is it really forms a great crust on the bottom. It smashes it down. You put that weight on it, and it's got a great crust on there. And then when you flip it over the other side, you get a good crust on the other side. So it's got a great texture. It cooks really fast and cooks in its own juices, so it's always very flavorful.
Every
But
time I cook burger, it comes out kind of roundish.
yeah, and that's the big difference. And so you take one of those and you smash it out real good, and then if you put a couple of pieces of bacon, throw another one on it, a couple of pieces of bacon. If you do cheese, a piece of cheese. My wife and daughter will have some grilled onions with it and throw that on there, and yeah, you kind of stack it high with different layers of the ground meat. The smash burgers, love them.
See, I just think of that as being a hamburger patty. I never would have thought of it as a smash burger. I just thought, I don't know how to make hamburgers, but at least they come out good. And I'm reminded of a comedian I watched when I was younger. He would talk about when his mom would make the burgers. He'd be like, "This don't look like McDonald's. It's a big old house burger. There's
See,
onions sticking out of it."
they're as flat as McDonald's burgers, but they're cooked differently, and they're way better because they've got that nice crust on them. If you cook them on a good hot griddle, it sears up really good.
I do appreciate a good crust, especially on the steak too.
They cook
Sir,
really fast. It's taken me a while to get used to them. My wife bought me one of those Blackstones a couple months ago, and I finally gotten to where every time they're going, "Oh yes, these are beautiful." But they cook so fast, you have to have everything ready to go before you put that meat
yes.
on.
Have any of you done lion diet, or do you just do standard carnivore from the beginning?
We've done standard
Standard.
carnivore.
Okay,
Yep.
so pretty much any meats.
Yes.
Do you do cheeses and uh, eggs and all that, seafood, everything? Okay, that's
We
Yep.
try
They
to
do.
make sure if we get cheese that it has as little ingredients as possible. We found some really good cheese that what does it have in it?
3 ingredients.
3 ingredients, and salt is one of them, and
Enzymes and
Enzymes
enzymes,
and milk.
and
milk.
Yep.
That's it.
we don't get the real highly processed cheeses.
That's good. That's good. The reason I asked is that Sandy Blythe had made a comment that she's 6 months in. I don't know what not yet was referring to, but she said chicken and eggs are tasting weird. And I noticed
Mm.
that I was on lion diet because I was only eating beef and lamb and deer meat, venison. And after a few months of that, I noticed that chicken and pork just didn't taste right to me. And eggs didn't taste right to me either. And I think it was something to do with eating only ruminants. But I just thought I would ask if you guys had any association with that. Probably not, since you've been eating all of those different things.
I'm
No,
planning on doing lion for the month of for the second half of May. So I'm waiting till after. We've got a event coming up this weekend, and then I was going to go and actually do my first month long lion diet. So personally, I want to see how it does. I'm going to go into a fast, and then I'm going to keep it going with lion diet.
And I found if you're trying to lose weight, it's good to stay away from dairy. At least for me, it stalled my weight loss just about any time I added it. But once I hit my goal weight, I've added it back in, and I don't gain weight. And so there's something to be said about that. I don't know the science behind why it stalls the weight loss. But I have added it back in, and even using Ashley's way of getting some fat by adding some half and half into my coffee sometimes.
So we were talking earlier about how Ashley got you started on this, and then Rhett, you followed suit when you saw Ashley losing all of that weight.
Yes, sir. I just kind of blindly followed. I didn't do any research. I didn't do I didn't do anything. I saw my brother. I'm like, man, whatever you're doing, I want in. And so he's like, okay, go watch Dr. Ken Berry, go watch Carrie from Homestead How, and watch some of these videos he got me watching. So I just started watching those and eating the carnivore way as I was doing it, and just went all in quick. I started feeling great immediately, and I had the weight, but I had just gotten a sleep apnea or a CPAP, and oh, I was not enjoying life having to sleep with that thing on my face. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I'd rip it off, I'd be angry and frustrated. Why did I let myself get this way? What is going on? And it it wasn't I want to say a month, maybe 6 weeks later that I returned it to the doctor. And maybe it may have been a little bit longer. But anyway, the day I got to return the CPAP machine to the doctor and said I don't need this anymore, and he looked at me and goes, "I believe you." I had lost about 65 pounds or so at that time, and he just he took it back, and they stopped me. They didn't make me make payments on it anymore, and that was that. It was great.
I know when you guys initially got started, your parents were a little bit concerned about this carnivore idea. How long did it take for that to change?
Oh, what?
Not too long, Mom. What do you think?
Well, when we saw them losing the weight, but also Ashley, he only lives about 20 minutes from us, and he kept sharing his blood test levels with us, which he had some really bad ones, and now they were all good and in perfect place where they should be. And it was like, what, within a couple of months, maybe,
Hmm.
yeah, not very long.
Yep.
And so, because especially me had had trouble with that, I thought, I'm going to give this a try. It can't kill me. 30 days, I'm going to do it. And we did. We and got off of it. Well, I had to get off it a little bit while I was in the hospital because they feed you such junk food. But other than that, I've been on it 2
Done really
years.
well. Yep.
Yeah,
And one of your Well, I got to go back and highlight Rhett something he didn't get. He said he lost 65 pounds at that time, but he's lost over 100 pounds.
over a
So he's
hundred.
done a remarkable job. And then, Mom, you've seen some big benefits too. But I mean, one of the things that I used to be very concerned about you, she had really, really bad acid reflux, GERD issues, like horrible, and that's completely gone.
Hmm.
That was gone very quickly. I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks. It was gone, and I was taking medicine for it every day.
When I used to run a retirement home, we had a lot of people in their 70s, 80s, and even in their 90s, and almost everybody had GERD. Almost everybody had it,
Yep.
and it comes from just eating this diet that our bodies aren't used to. I think that's one of the biggest problems right there, and it's so nice to hear that you can reverse something like that because it's so painful,
Oh, it's
and
horrible.
it can ruin your
Really is.
and cause a lot more problems than just pain.
Hmm. Yeah.
I also had that real bad acid reflux. It went away quick. I didn't take medication for it daily, but about once a week, it got so bad that we had some emergency meds that I would take if it got really bad. Um, but yeah, I was definitely on my way to everyday medicine.
Yeah, at
Maybe it was
48,
every day.
they had me on omeprazole 40 milligrams for like a year before I started this, and that was one of the first things to go.
Yeah, it goes
Mm.
quick.
And Ashley, you said you had diabetes when you got started.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Worst. When I first found out about type 2 diabetes, I was over 11 on my A1C. It was 11.1 at my A1C, and it took me a while to get on carnivore after that. That was 8 years ago, but I corrected a lot of things pretty quickly just with the understanding. And I mentioned I'd gone on paleo initially, and that was a very low carb, and that's what I wanted to do, cut out carbs and sugars. But I didn't even know what a carb was at the time. My wife was teaching me what that was, and I couldn't eat a potato or other things like that. And so it was pretty miserable. But I did it because I was scared. I didn't know, I just knew that was the first bad situation I'd had with my health. And I went really hardcore for 3 months and cut out anything if I knew it had a carb or sugar in it, because that's the only thing I knew to do, and I didn't want to go on medicine. And corrected it very quickly. But the problem was at that point, I didn't know anything about how addictive sugars was and how the sugar cravings would just come immediately back. So after 3 months of a great job, pat on the back, I rewarded myself with pizza and ice cream, and I was back to my old habits real quick. And so it didn't. It probably I didn't really even measure my blood sugars very much during that time. I just kept thinking in the back of my head, "Oh, I'll fix it later. I'll fix it later." And every time I started to get motivated, well, somebody had offered me a piece of cake or a donut or something, and next week. And I just kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And so the friend of mine who introduced me to carnivore, that's, I think, the kick in the pants. I knew I was getting bad again, and it was when I did that, it was reaching 10 points again on my A1C, and I had to do something, and that's when he introduced me to carnivore. And I was already of the mindset, okay, I'm going to go pretty strict again. We got through the holidays, and that's when I started officially, I think, in February, and but I'd already been cutting back some sugars and carbs that I already knew were not good for me. But I went full into carnivore in February, and 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago.
I think it's like 5.7 on A1C is when they say you're pre-diabetic.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
I was trying to see what the 6.4, 5.7 to 6.4 indicates pre-diabetes. And
Right.
yeah, so being in the double digits is definitely scary. Do you have a history of diabetes in the family?
No, we really never had, and so that's one of the other reasons why it was when I first went into the doctor and was diagnosed with it. It was because I was losing a lot of weight, which is really odd. I knew I didn't go see the doctor very often, and so it was it was a situation where I thought I had cancer. Something was eating me from the inside out. I shouldn't have been losing. I lost about 40 pounds, and there's no way I should have lost that much weight because I was still eating terribly, not exercising, drinking a ton of Dr. Pepper. So something scared me enough that I was like, all right, I better go get checked out and see what's going on here. And so thankfully it wasn't cancer, but it was something I'd never heard of, really paid attention to. He told me I had diabetes, and my first question to him was like, well, what does that mean? I don't even know what that is. So, it was a whole discovery, a whole learning period for what that is and the seriousness of what diabetes can do. And when I found out it is very severe, not just it can end
Definitely.
your life, of course, but I mean, you think about how many people go around and they've lost limbs, they've lost their vision. There's some very, very severe outcomes. And so I just wanted to make sure I did something. And I knew when he told me, the doctor told me it was too late. I had to go on his medicine. And I just knew that wasn't the right answer in my heart. And that goes back to what mom had always kind of instilled in us. And I'm just like, I don't want that to be my first option. I'm not going to do that. And so I went to a very trusted chiropractor that I had and that I was seeing at the time. And I asked him, I said, and he was very into some natural healings and naturopath type stuff. And I said, hey, can I just at least change my diet and exercise, do some other things first? Or am I really that far gone? And he said, it's not going to kill you in 3 months. It is serious, but you need to take action. But I agree. Let's change your diet. Let's do a couple other things, and let's figure this out for the next 3 months. So, and I think if I go, if I'm talking to any diabetics now, and I were to challenge them, I would say, how fast has your doctor got you from an 11.1 to a 5.3? Because it took me 3 months changing my diet, not exercising. What doctor can tout those kind of results? I'm sorry. That clearly shows me and showed me it's your diet. It's what you're putting in your body that is affecting you this way. So from that point on, there was no going back.
Well, that A1C commercial that that Jardiance is a medicine that's on the commercials all the time, and they even say in the commercial it'll lower your A1C by 1 point, to be on this for your whole life. And then there's a list of the things that it can do to you to practically. I think one of them was death and cause
Yeah,
cancer, and all this
yeah.
stuff is like, yay, to lower my A1C
Well,
1 point. Let's
that's
cause a
exactly
whole
what I
bunch of
asked the
problems.
doctor. Instinctively, I asked the doctor, I said, so if I do go on your medicine and it's got all these side effects, because I know there's a lot of side effects with it, how much will that help me? And he said, it's usually good for about 1 point or two. And I said, so I'm still a type 2 diabetic. So why would I not do more than that? And he just kind of looked dumbfounded. And he said, "Well, yeah, you should probably change your diet and do some exercise and other things too, but you definitely need to go on the medicine." So
Yeah.
I did go pick up the prescription though.
Their main solution doesn't move the needle, but the real solution changes everything, and it changes it
Right.
quickly. Which, I was worried about diabetes my whole life because my father died of diabetic complications, and I had to watch him go through having a foot cut off, and then eventually
Mm.
part of his leg just above the knee, and then he had been off of his feet for so long that caused more problems in his extremities. He had Paget's disease as well, which meant his bones got really soft when he wasn't using them, so he couldn't even heal. That's why he had to have his leg removed. And the diabetes itself, though, just got him in the end. And it was such a pitiful way to watch such a strong man. I mean, he was like captain of the football team, the commander in chief of the ROTC that he was in high school. This is back like pre World War II because he was born in 1922. So to see him go to be from such this strong man to a man that laid in bed with a diaper on, and his mom had to come, my mom, his wife had to come change that and deal with all that, and to watch him just writhe in misery like that, knowing now that he could have turned that around with the right food, just breaks my heart. And I know there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there who are facing that
Yeah.
type of problem. As a matter of fact, somebody mentioned in the comment, I'm not sure
I,
if they're carnivore or not, but they said, I'm so discouraged. I've been ketovore for a while. I'm a woman.
Ketovore.
I have to see my doctor for thyroid medicine, 357 cholesterol, 90 HDL, 71 triglycerides, A1C is 7.1. I don't need a statin. I refused. I can't lower my A1C. Any advice?
So I have to chime in on that one because ketovore is the thing that I honed in on, and that is really close to carnivore. I think what a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of people, and I don't know, Chow CEO, if you've done any of this investigation, but there are so many hidden sugars in a lot of things under different names, under things that you don't even recognize that that's a sugar or a form of a sugar. And for me, that's why carnivore made it so simple because I just got out of all of the games. I ate meat, I ate eggs, I ate butter, I ate bacon. And for a while there, I didn't even eat a lot of the bacon because they also put, the sugar's not in the bacon, but a lot of times you'll find it on the outside of the bacon because they cure it in a salt and bacon. So it's even bacon can be not completely sugar free. But my recommendation is if you want to really see if it helps move the needle is try it for 30 days, but really go full carnivore or even lion diet and really do that. Seasonings, a lot of people don't realize. I talked to a lady just the other day who was getting brisket thinking, oh, this was really good. She had no idea the seasonings at the barbecue place that they were putting all over the brisket before they smoke it has a ton of sugar in it. And a lot of people just don't realize some of the stuff that those sugars are hidden in. A lot of the stuff that say keto on it or keto friendly, they've got other things that are going to impact your A1C and cause blood spikes in your glucose because your body, whether it's sugar or a sugar substitute, it just senses sweet, and that's what releases that. So you have to avoid all sweets, and I would highly recommend that for a good, solid, hard 30 days and see what that does to your A1C. Now, A1C is also a measure of 3 months, right? It's an average of 3 months. So to get a true movement on your A1C, 90 days is probably your best bet.
And excuse me, I know. Hold on just a moment. I want to check something real quick. I'm trying to keep up with the chat and all the other things going on at the same time.
Yeah, no worries.
Just to add with what Ashley said there real quick,
But
if you go into your pantry and look up garlic salt, you probably have garlic salt. I almost guarantee you there's sugar in it.
Yeah.
They hide sugar in everything. There's over 200 names for sugar.
Right.
And so, the way to get sugar out of your diet completely is what Ashley said there. Try carnivore for 30, 60, 90 days, but go strong carnivore. Really read those labels and make sure that you're eating as minimal ingredients as possible.
Yeah, it blew my mind because one of the ingredients you're supposed to have on carnivore is salt. Well, there's actually even salts that have sugar in it too. So it's when I flipped over the bottle of, I believe it was Morton's salt, the one with the girl in the umbrella on it or whatever, and read the ingredients and saw dextrose was on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a form of sugar. And again, why is that in your salt? So that it's those kind of things that if you're really trying to see what's impacting you, that's the best thing you can do is really just eliminate everything and do your best to go on a 90-day strict elimination.
Yeah, because if you're trying to avoid diabetes, it's really key to get these things. And Thomas over at Target Prime Rib knows all about it. He's had several toes amputated, so he knows exactly what it's like. And I find that, like, my mother-in-law is trying to eat better as well. She has her go-to every day that I can't seem to get her to stop. She always makes an excuse for it. But when she has gone to the store to buy, sometimes she'll be like, I'll buy some stuff for the house since you guys are, doing so much for me and everything. But she'll come home with things that have all these ingredients in them. And she's just looking at the front of the label. She says, oh, I got these keto packets of whatever. And I'm like, look, if it says keto in the store, it's just another product. It's just like all those other products out there that they're trying to sell you, that Cheerios say that they're heart healthy and all these other things that are just not true. They're able to make these claims because of studies that were supposedly done in the past by people like Ansel Keys, and then they put all this information out that the government approved so they can say that, but they shouldn't be able to. It's really, it should be false advertising. It should be a breach of contract between the customer and the company, in my opinion, because you're lying. You're lying when you say these things are healthy. You're putting things, and there's like 500 different ways to label salt too. I know I posted on my Facebook page the other day, there was like a whole list of different things. And, why do you think there's so many different ways to create the list of salt, salt, sugar, is that the sugar is what keeps you hooked. They know this. The chemists know this. That's what keeps you coming back. And it creates all the pain that makes you feel so bad that you need comfort. So you go to the comfort food that causes the pain, and it becomes a vicious cycle. And even when you think you're eating healthy, when you're eating that stuff that's in the health food section of the store, it's not going to work. You got to become an ingredients inspector if you're really going to try to eat something like ketovore or keto, and even carnivore in some ways, because I've found packages of meat when I've gone to Walmart before and bought ground beef, and it'll say natural flavors. Well, natural flavors is a hiding mechanism. There's a whole list of things that can be a natural flavor that has nothing to do with that beef. And some of them are not natural, but they're allowed to be included because the FDA said they're allowed to be included. So they're able to get away with a lot of things that all this government help that we thought we were getting is not helping at all. For example, the USDA, the product can say American beef or made in America beef, but it could simply be cut here or packaged here or even cooked here. And then it can say product of the United States, but you have no idea where it came from. Now, I'm not saying that other countries don't make good beef, but a lot of the beef that those other countries send us is raised on massive ranches with huge amounts of cattle. I'm talking thousands of head of cattle. Most of your cattle ranchers in the United States are under 100 head of cattle. And that's because that's what you can manage pretty easily. But when you're raising that many, you're guaranteed to be having problems with the animals getting sick from what they're eating, from the fact that they're being fed corn for one, but also if they're grazing, they're grazing right down to the roots. They're getting worms. They're getting problems where they need antibiotics. They're not getting the fat they need if they're not stuffing them with grain, because the way they grass feed them in a lot of these places is just to let them roam around and eat until there's dirt on the ground. So that's what makes that beef so different. But That was one of the things that Jeff over at Big Mo Cattle was telling me about the other day in a video we did recently. So if you haven't seen that, I would encourage you to watch it, because if you want a rancher's perspective of somebody who really pays attention to how to make good beef, and he says it would not be impossible for us to go this route across the country. It's just going to have to take a lot of changes in what the government is doing. Ultimately, I think the government should have their hands off of it, but most people can't understand that, well, if nobody's regulating it, then it's going to be worse. Actually, the regulations are making it worse because they're putting things into place that benefit the people who are selling the beef, not benefiting the people who are eating the beef or eating whatever the food is.
No, good.
Let's see if we had
Can
any.
I say
100%.
something about I think he's called CEO Chow, or Chow CEO. I
Yes.
think he said in a comment further up that his doctor had just put him on metformin. Tell him to get off of that. Don't get on it. Go research it. My cousin had a husband die 2 years ago, and she said the beginning of his downfall was when that doctor put him on metformin. It's a killer. So check it out. It's not good for you. And you
And
can get rid of diabetes on your diet.
And of course, we're not here to give you doctor's advice or tell you what to tell
No,
your doctor
no.
to do, but you should do your own homework on these things, because
Research it.
they're
Research.
trained to prescribe this medicine. That's what they're trained to do. And they're not trained to get you healthy. They're only trained to manage your illness. Because if they can manage your illness, they can keep milking you for money. And it's not really milking you a lot of times. It's milking Medicare or Medicaid or your insurance company. So you don't feel it, but you're still going downhill. You've got to take control of your health. If you're trusting your doctor with your health, realizing that their studies don't teach people how to get healthy, it just teaches them how to manage these things, with the exception of surgeons. And I thank God for the surgeons, because, we
Right.
get in car accidents or break an arm or something like that. We got to have those. And I also thank God for people who get into medicine who want to be a healer, but that's not what they're being trained to do.
For sure.
Let's see. I was checking through some of the comments. If you guys got anything else you want to add about how the story got started, I know we already pretty much covered it, but like, what was one of the big things that changed for you, Jay, when you got started?
Well, the loss of weight gave me a lot more energy, and I was really lethargic, and so it really helped me. I also got off of. I was only on one medicine for high blood pressure, and I've gotten off of that. So it's certainly helped me. My kids were very concerned about me and how I didn't have any energy and just wanting to sit in the chair.
Yep. Because you can't afford anybody to go get your lawn mowed, so you need to get out there and mow it.
That's right.
That's
That's
what you have to
right.
do.
So I'm doing that now. No problem.
That's right. No, it was just, I say that jokingly, because moving back to Texas, that Texas heat is pretty intense, and so when you get out there and you're not used to it, and get out there and use some yard work for a few minutes, it wipes you out pretty fast if you're not used to it or don't have the energy. And Dad's time in the yard used to be about 5 minutes when you first moved to Texas, and now you can be out there for 2 hours and get all the yard work done in one setting, which is just amazing to me. I've seen a remarkable difference in his energy level and overall just attitude about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
I noticed on the a question that Chow CEO had put up: do you drink coffee and with anything in it?
Yeah. So that's thanks for bringing that up, Dad, because I saw that comment too. I think a lot of people, especially, I mean, coffee's a hard thing to kick, and there's a lot of carnivores that still drink coffee as well. I would recommend, especially when dealing with the diabetes, is even though it says sugar free, there's a sugar substance. That just means it's chemically substituted with something else to make it taste sweet. Any of those kind of flavored creams, even flavored coffees, they don't disclose fully what's in those, especially the flavored coffees. If you're drinking a caramel flavored coffee, there's something in there that's making it taste like caramel, right? So I do drink coffee still, but I've gone to where it's black. I have been weaning my way off of cream because there is sugar in cream. But that to me is something that if I'm still going to have a little something, I do add some half and half every once in a while. But I've noticed that does not um, that impacts my blood sugar levels. Not a lot, but it does impact my blood sugar levels. So if we're talking about wanting to make this correction for the 90 days, I'd try and even get to the point, if you're going to keep drinking coffee, drink it black, best you can, or add some butter. A lot of people will do that, which may sound weird, but I
Weird.
love it. And even though my mom won't do it, I love it with a little butter in the coffee, and that gives me a little little. It's not a dairy flavor; it's a different flavor, but it's good. I enjoy that.
Well,
Heavy cream.
butter is just cream that's been churned and had the buttermilk removed. So it's not really that different than adding cream, except that it's salted butter, you know?
Yeah.
What were you saying, Mary?
I was just saying, I'll take the heavy cream over butter in my coffee. He's given me two little butter things to put in my coffee, and they've been in my fridge for probably 4 months, and I haven't used them yet.
No, I gave her when she was eating all the terrible food in the hospital. Not eating it really because it was all terrible.
I didn't eat it.
I needed her to get some more fats in, and so I made her some butter bites. And that wasn't. I said you could try it in your coffee or just eat them plain. She just can't do it.
Not yet. One of these days.
One of these days.
Well, I'll say some things about coffee because I've been back and forth. I've made videos talking about there's dangers in some coffee. You got to be careful with mold and fungus and things like that. And it's hard to know the source of the coffee for one. But there's some coffee brands out there that have been reportedly better. Peet's is one that I've heard of. That's what I get from my wife. That has been really good. PEET''S. And because she's not gonna quit coffee. There's just, and I don't want to get divorced, so I'm not trying to force her to. I went I went the longest time without having coffee on Lion Diet, and it was fantastic. I would go to bed at night just like that when I wanted to go to bed, and when I wanted to wake up in the morning, I'd pop out of bed. And I'd gone back and forth with coffee a little bit, but I'd been off of it for a good long time. And I used to put butter in hot water, and I use a blender now. I'll blend it up because it doesn't mix really good with water or coffee. I find you got to use a blender if you really want to get it good, like bulletproof coffee. And I'll even add some Relight to it. She loves that, which is like it's electrolyte mix that Redmond makes. And I put a thing of Relight in with both cups. I was just doing my hot water and then doing hers, but that meant I had to do 2 rounds with the blender and clean it out one time and then add it again. And I just got to where I said, you know what, I'm just going to add the coffee and do it all at once. And I'll have coffee with her. We'll have coffee in the morning. And because that, again, smoothing out the marriage thing, enjoying the company together and drinking coffee. And she loves it. She absolutely loves it. She's like so frothy and creamy, but, nothing sugary to it. And she loves it. But I will also say that one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing it now for about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe longer, maybe a month, I am having a harder time getting to bed at night, and I'm having a harder time getting up in the morning. And this is something I've talked about before, is because what coffee does is it stays with you all throughout the day. Even by the time you're going to bed at night, at least 25% of that caffeine is still in your system. And it makes it harder for you to fall asleep. So when you wake up in the morning, now you need it. It's like a drug that you have to have and you got to keep going with. So if you can go without coffee, you might find that you actually have better sleep and a better day throughout. I also understand if you can't get rid of it. So I'm not here to be dogmatic about either way. But I will say that I've noticed that difference throughout. I did fine without it for the longest time. I did miss that hot cup in the morning. That's why I started using hot water and butter and Relight together. So I was basically having bulletproof coffee without the brown liquid. I was just having the liquid that hadn't gone through the strain, And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. But this recent experiment has just reminded me of why I got away from coffee. And then again, like I said, there are those coffees out there that there's a lot of fillers. Some of that filler is paper, some of that filler is wood. And if you're not getting good coffee, you might be getting a lot of stuff that you just don't need. And cellulose is one of those things you don't need a lot of, really any of. Now, I would like to see if you guys had an answer for this new subscriber trying to go carnivore. It's pretty freaking hard for me right now. I want to get through 30 days. What was your first 30 days like, Ashley?
Honestly, my first 30 days was pretty easy, but I had already done some stints in getting rid of the carbs and sugar. And I'm the type of person that when I put my mind to something, the first 30 days is not the problem. It's usually after that, right? Like I'm pretty motivated to do something pretty strictly. So mine was not too challenging, but I do have an answer to this question. I'll let maybe mom and dad and Rhett see if they had any difference on that, and then we can circle back to it. I don't want to tout our YouTube channel too much on this one, but that's one of the reasons we put together. If you're okay, Dante,
Absolutely.
That's one of the reasons we did a 30-day challenge, and really it's meant to be an encouragement along the 30 days, and really went back and did a video every day. We started in January. We did a video every single day in the month of January for the first 30 days for somebody who's brand new to carnivore. So find that playlist on our channel, Carnivore Brothers on YouTube, and I would encourage you to do that. We threw in a tip or a trick every single day of something we had learned over the last 2 years of being on carnivore, and tried to give advice and a word of encouragement and some prayers at the end to help keep those people motivated to get through those first 30 days.
That's why I love having these lives like this and having groups to come together and share their stories, because sometimes after 4 years of doing this and sharing it all this time I've gotten to where it's like, well, I've already said all this stuff so many times. I don't want to say the same thing all the time. But I realize I got new people coming in all the time, and I got people who've been around who haven't got it through their head. Like my mother-in-law has been watching me do this for 4 years, and she still doesn't get it. So it's encouraging to me just to hear you say that you do that on a regular basis, so that I can stick with it when I'm doing it too. Davina had something to add. Sweet taste can keep your brain addicted. That's very true. Somebody had an odd question here, but it's a question. What is your temperature? I'm in Australia and we have Celsius. I don't know what Celsius it is, but my temperature is 98.6. I think that's the same for all of them. But if you mean the temperature where it is here right now, it's 81 degrees at 23 at night, and the high today was 87 here in Florida. What's it over there in Texas and wherever you guys are? I forget where you're at, Rhett. You're not in Texas.
I'm in Washington. Yeah, it was a beautiful 80-degree day today. I think that's about 27, 28 Celsius.
We're
So
69.
mom and dad,
We're 69.
69. It's a little cooler in Texas, which I saw some later comments about it being in Texas, and I need to find out where Mercy Me's from. If you're anywhere in the Dallas area, you need to reach out, because we need to get together for one of our meetups here in Dallas. But mom and dad,
It rained
we
all
grew
day
up.
today. So it's cold. I mean, cooler.
Yeah, but you know what Celsius are, because we grew up in Canada, and so
You grew
they
up
have
in
Celsius
Canada.
up there too.
I used to think if they ever said 22 Celsius, I could actually go out without a coat. I was so happy. Didn't know what it meant, but I just knew if it was 22, I could go without a coat. That's somewhere in the 70s.
Ashley, when you were talking about your 30-day thing, I didn't hear you mention, and you may have, and I just missed it, that they can find that on the Carnivore Brothers website.
Our Carnivore Brothers YouTube channel. That's right.
YouTube at Carnivore Brothers. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a playlist, so that it should come up when you click on that playlist. You should get all 30 videos.
Wow.
I'm going to put it in the chat here just so people can see it. That way they won't have any confusion on that one. That's not a direct link, but that's how if you type that in, you'll go right to it. And Sandy pointed out something I think that was great for the 30-day question. Maybe keep a journal. I've had at least one of my people who I do some carnivore coaching on my Facebook, not my Facebook, on my website, where we get together on Zoom so that we can discuss the things that you're having trouble with. And she had been struggling for over a year to stay carnivore. She said she'd go 6 or 7 days and then she'd crash and just go way off course. And one of the things I encouraged her to do of several was to journal what you're eating and how you felt afterward. Write down what you're feeling, because you don't remember that when you have those cravings. But if you can stop and write those things down and then go back and say, okay, the last time I had this, that's how my night ended. I don't want my night to end that way again. And it's really powerful. Writing is powerful to begin with because writing is active thinking. When you're writing, this is one of the things I used to teach my students when I taught high school. Writing is so important. That's why I made all of their tests were essay tests. They hated me for that. But when they got to college, I heard from them. They said, thank you for teaching me how to think, because once I got there, the tests were easy. But writing things down is hugely important, especially keeping a journal is really good for you if you're having a time. If you're struggling with anything, journaling can be really important.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to comment on my first 30 days because I did jump right in. I did experience after about 2 weeks a pretty bad bout with the keto flu. And that's something that really turns people off, and they go for 10 days, 2 weeks, and they start to feel like that and they quit because they think carnivores, doing something wrong. And I would encourage people, if you're eating a standard American diet, to maybe ease in. Don't quit everything cold turkey and just jump straight into carnivore, because you could experience that ill feeling for 5, 6 days. And it really can discourage you. But like Dante's saying, and the comments were saying, if you journal it and kind of write down everything that you're eating, that's important too. Once you get past that 2 week period, most people, if they experience any keto flu at all, that goes away, and then that's when you start feeling so much better. But you may have a couple down weeks before you start really feeling that high, that different feeling that you get on carnivore, where the energy levels are up and you're more positive, and just things just start getting better all around in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Took the words right out of my mouth, Ashley. I got a question here from James Black I want to share. Now, again, we're not giving anybody medical advice, but we can tell you what we would do or what we did. And his question was, with A1C of 9.2, would you stop metformin and just do carnivore? I think, Ashley, that's actually what you did, isn't it?
No, but
You
we
didn't have
answered that
metformin.
earlier. I didn't actually go on any medicine, but I would encourage, like you said, we can't give medical advice, but I'd encourage do some research on the side effects. And I asked my doctor, how much is that medicine going to impact my A1C? And when I found that out, and I heard and I read in the comments from so many different YouTube channels who have done carnivore results, how fast they could reverse their type 2 diabetes and lower their A1C significantly by changing your diet, that was the route I chose to go. Change your diet will impact your A1C much more than the medicines that they're offering. Is my opinion. Again, no medical advice, and I can't tell you to just drop your metformin. You have to work with your doctor on that.
Absolutely.
But your doctor will push back. I'm sorry.
I would ask your doctor how soon you can wean off of the medicine.
It's so unfortunate that people are in this situation where it's not like it used to be. Your doctor thought of you as somebody that they cared for because they wanted you as a client. Nowadays, it's set up to where you're sort of pigeonholed into their place, especially in places like Canada, as Jay and Mary well know from their experiences up there. And I've talked to several Canadians in the Healing Humanity group who talk about, we don't really get a choice. I mean, it's just whatever they give us, and they're going to do whatever the rules say, and they're not going to. The problem with that is that they're supposed to be working for you. you're paying for services. You're supposed to be getting what you're paying for. When you go to the doctor, what are you paying for? Are you paying for them to put you on a continuous treatment for the rest of your life? Or are you paying for them to get you better? And if they're not getting you better, then the hope would be is that you could find another doctor. But so many people, like people that are on VA, for instance, or they're on Medicaid or Medicare, or they have an HMO or something like that, that limits their choices. It makes it very difficult. And I can understand how difficult that can be. Well, you just remember that what they're telling you is not like the rules that you have to follow. There's no law that says that you have to listen to what your doctor says. I'm not telling you to not listen to your doctor, but I'm telling you that if my doctor told me something like that, told me that I needed a statin, I would say, don't even put it on my medicine chart. Don't even put it on my medicine chart because I don't want it and I'm not going to take it. And if you put it on my medicine chart, I'm going to complain to anybody I can because I don't want that showing up on my record as something that I take in case I ever want to get some life insurance or something like that. I don't want them looking at my medical record thinking that I need this garbage. So,
Right. Can I tell you a funny story? I
absolutely.
just got back from a doctor's visit after being on 2 years carnivore. And believe it or not, it was the most pleasant doctor's visit I'd experienced. I'd gone in guns blazing, ready to go. I had all my numbers. I actually had my phone out. I recorded the entire conversation because I was ready to help combat and train up my doctor. That's really the mindset I was going into with this. And it was the most pleasant conversation I think I've ever had because one of the first things out of his mouth is, looks like you're controlling everything very well with your diet. Congratulations. And he knew my history. He knew the past. He knew where I'd come from. But we just went on and on and on. And he was very open. And this has changed in 2 years because the first year that I saw him, he did not have that tune. And I think there's a lot of doctors who are re-educating a little bit, learning, trying to learn a little bit of alternatives here on what else can they do. And thankfully, we just have to continue pushing back, like Dante says, a little bit and let them know I'm not just going to accept the medication without other solutions being offered to me because there are other solutions that are out there. And your diet is the biggest one that you can impact your health from what you're eating, 100%. But it was crazy. 30-minute conversation. We talked about everything from his kids to my kid to what changes. And by the end of our conversation, he was asking me to send him a link to the Healing Humanity documentary trailer. So it was fantastic.
Well, that segues good into a question that somebody asked that I'd like to be able to answer too with a little bit of a story. Do you laugh inside when you go to the doctors now because you know what you know now and they know nothing? I wouldn't say I laugh inside, but I can say that it definitely is a comforting feeling to know that I know my body and I know where I am with my health. That I'm just here doing what I need to do to get the numbers checked. Most of the time, the only reason I'm even interested in the numbers is because I have a YouTube channel. And I want to be able to share it because everybody in the world wants to ask what they are, and then I can talk about it. But otherwise, if I don't feel any problems, I don't have a need to go to the doctor. And there was a time when I had to go every 3 months because I had to get my refills. And I thought, well, I guess this is just life now. Just like my residents at the retirement home, I got to drag them up there every 3 months. They don't even pay attention to what the resident says. They don't ask them any questions. They don't ask them anything about what they're doing. Not all of them, but some of them, most of them would just kind of rubber stamp, okay, here's your medicine refills. I got paid again. Everybody's happy. It was like a racket. And I went to a urologist about 2 years ago. It turns out I had prostatitis, which was caused by an infection. But it felt like it was something to do with my kidneys or my bladder based on what they were telling me at the hospital. So they sent me to this urologist and I had questions. All I wanted to do is I wanted to understand what's going on, what's happening inside of me. I didn't get more than 3 or 4 questions out before the doctor said, you know what? I think you need to see another doctor. I don't want to treat you. And there's a lot of out like that. They're like that. They don't have time because they're only given like 15 minutes. Really, that's kind of their choice. that they only have 15 minutes to see people because they're trying to see as many as they can and get that free money that they're getting just by rubber stamping those Medicare and insurance bills. So they don't, if they don't have time for your questions, you got a dealer. You don't got a healer. That's for sure. So yeah, I would say I would laugh inside if it was funny, but it's not really funny when you got doctors like that. But what I am surprised about, and I'm almost afraid to say it because I don't want anybody at the doctor's office to get in trouble because I know the main doctor doesn't go along with it. But I only see the nurse practitioner when I go in there. And if there's anything that I want to ask about, if I want blood work, they just do whatever I ask. And I'm so thankful for that. And they're even supportive of the carnivore diet. They're supportive of what I've been doing. They just can't tell it to their boss. That's upsetting.
Yep.
That I've never seen my actual doctor that I have assigned to me by my insurance. Never seen them one time. I've never met them, and I've been with this place over a year.
That's amazing.
To piggyback on that same question, when we were in Yuma, Dr. Barry stood up and gave a wonderful speech for a bit, and to summarize, he basically said, "Look, the doctors are very necessary for surgeries, for broken bones, things like that, right? But he said, really, we put them on a pedestal, but they're just dudes and chicks, right? They know what they know. They don't know what they don't know. And they are trained for about a week or two of nutrition in the 4 to 8 years of training that they get. And they just don't know. And so I wouldn't say that they know nothing. They're very smart. They've gone through a lot of training, but the curriculum that they go through, the stuff that they're taught, unfortunately, there's just no time in their curriculum for nutrition, and that needs to change.
Yeah, 100%.
This one's not really a question, but it says, I only go to the doctors to have blood tests, but they always try to give me statins and blood pressure tablets and stuff for diabetes. It's maddening. It is. But that's why you've still got to talk to them. Don't be afraid to tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I think a lot of people don't tell them because they don't want to get any grief from them. But especially if you're seeing results and they're seeing your results and they want to know what you're doing, you need to let them know, because some of them are going to start to take notice. And the more of them that start to take notice, the more the system will change, because it's got to change from the ground up. Like most every problem we've got, it's got to start with the grassroots. And you got to be able to show them, I'm healthier than I've been my entire life. And it's without your medicine. It's eating the right foods that's making the difference. And it's eating meat, specifically in my case. And it's eating red meat, specifically in my case. The things that we were told not to eat my whole life is what's giving me life now. So, and some of them are open to listen. And that's encouraging. But we got to be willing to talk about it too.
Mom got to experience quite a bit of that. And oh, sorry, Dad, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just was going to say that when I was still on the blood pressure medicine, I ended up taking myself off of it. And then I went in and told the doctor that I did that. And she was really kind of taken back by it. And I told her that we had changed our diet, that I didn't need it anymore. And then I started talking to her about carnivore. And you could tell she wanted to get out of the room just as quick as she could. I gave her some information on a little piece of paper and said, you need to look at some of these doctors that are talking about this. And she took it, put it in her pocket, probably never looked at it again. But anyway, she had it out the door as quick as possible. But
yeah. And I told us what she was scared of.
Oh, yes, she did say just before walking out the door, she did say, I'm just so concerned about the butter. You're eating too much butter. So I'm not sure
I understand. That's perfect timing.
Even your phone is like, wait.
Not sure I understand. Too much butter.
That was my watch.
It was nice. Mom had a similar experience, which was funny. Mom, I don't know if you remember this when you were in the hospital here recently with the nurse. I mean, you talked to a lot of people, but the nurse in particular. Remember the one that came in and gave you the lecture about fiber? Did you? That was kind of funny.
The nutritionists, they're all raised with our old timey pyramid. And I had told her, she said, I see by your chart you've lost a lot of weight. And what were you doing? And I said, well, carnivore diet. And she sort of looked, didn't say anything. And then she gave me all this advice about what I should be eating: a lot of fiber, less red meat, blah, 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 fruits, veggies, all that junk. And so when she came back before I got released, she was double checking what I was supposed to do. And she said, now, I've heard of these keto carnivore diets. And if you want to lose weight, okay, but don't stay on them more than a week. They're dangerous. And I just thought, oh, this is what we've got professional, medical professionals telling people, patients in the hospital. But you don't, I mean, what do? You can't argue. They are
Because
professionals in their eyes, and you're a patient, you know nothing. So,
and that's what they're trained, and that goes back to the point that Rhett was making. And because it was interesting, after that, Mom told me about that, and I was in there, and that nurse came back, and I just like not to be mean or anything. I just asked her the question. I said, do you know what happens to your body if you don't have fiber? And she goes, oh yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. You need fiber, and you'll be constipated. And all, she listed a couple things. I said, would it shock you to hear that I haven't had any fiber in 2 years? She goes, yes. I said, would it shock you even more to tell you that I know people that haven't had any fiber in 16 years? And her eyes got real big, and she's then just like, fiber is not essential. I said, in fact, my poops are better than I've ever had before. And we started having a big conversation about it. But it was shocking to her because she'd never heard that before. And
Yeah.
so again,
Yeah.
it's one of those, like Rhett said, Dr. Berry said, they know what they know, or just dudes and chicks. This is what was trained. This is, we've all been trained with the food pyramid. We've all been trained with, this is the healthy way of eating, and get all your colors on your plate. That's what how we were taught.
yep,
So it's hard to go against that sometimes, especially for those who have rules against it, and those are your medical professionals.
yep.
Reminds me of something Ronald Reagan once said. He said, it's not that they don't know anything, it's that what they know isn't so.
That's a good one.
I didn't even ask you guys how long you had as far as time goes, and I am amazed to see that we've already gone over an hour and 13 minutes. Are you okay on time with everything?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
fine.
I just want to
I love talking with you, Dante.
Yeah, I love having you guys on. I just want to make sure we were able to address as many questions as we could for folks that might have had some questions for you directly about any of the things that you've experienced on this, because you got folks that are, see, Jay, you're approaching 80, right?
Yes, I'm
78.
78.
78, and
78.
Mary was a little bit younger. How old are you, Ashley?
I'll be 78 in August.
And I'm 49 currently. 1 year till 50. Dangerous by 50.
And
That's
Rhett?
the
I'm
only thing.
46.
That's the only thing I'm missing. You can tell Katie I'm missing my ATA class right now.
Yeah, you know what? She's at ATA class right now. I wanted her to be here to help keep up with the questions, but everything has worked out pretty good. So I'm glad she got her class. But I'll tell
Tell
her,
her
look,
I'm
Ashley
enjoying
joined
it though. I've done 4
He's
classes
not
so far. 5 classes.
nice. He's not here right now, but Ashley has a twin brother, also 49, who's been carnivore for over a year now, and has reversed a lot of issues as well. He doesn't want to necessarily be on camera and do the things that we're doing, um, but the amount of change that we have seen in him is just amazing.
That's fantastic. Well, the reason I wanted to point it out is a lot of time people ask me, "Am I too old to start this?" Especially when I talk to some of the people that are, in this their 70s and 80s, and no, I see people all the time that changing your diet, it's never too late to start doing the right thing.
That's right.
You might have done a lot of damage. It might take a lot of work to get over it. You might not be able to get over all the damage you've done, but you can definitely turn it around. And sometimes you can totally reverse them. I mean, diabetes was just something that once you found out you had it years ago, that was just it. You just had diabetes. Once you found out you had cancer, you just had it, unless they radiated you and poured chemotherapy through you and all that stuff. And now people are not necessarily using only a carnivore diet to do it, but many people have. And Dr. Siegfried talks a lot about how removing sugar from your diet is so important. And I know somebody, like I said earlier, that fought with cancer, and I have been trying to drill it through her head: stop eating that sugar if you don't want to have that come back again. But and what's even worse is that she does it in liquid form, and I'm trying to say, if you don't want to go through this again, you've got to cut out that sugar. It's going to make such a huge difference for you to not have that, not to mention all the other pains and aches that she has. So, and it's not the only person. It's just a person that's in my life that's very important, and I don't want to call her out because she watches the channel too. But at the same time, you know who you are. I love you. I'm just trying to watch out for you and encourage you to be healthier and better. And I love all the people who tune in for this, because I know that they're searching for answers too. They want to be healthy.
Right.
They don't want to feel this way. They don't want to have cancer and all these problems. I mean, who does? When you found out you had diabetes, Ashley, what about all the other problems in your life? Did you even think about those anymore, or it was like, this is the one problem I got to deal with?
Suddenly it got more important, right? Yeah, you're right. You're spot on there. I think unfortunately that's what most people's wake up call is, right? Is when something severe happens, something really traumatic happens, and then they realize, oh, I got to do something at this point. When if we can convince more people and start earlier, before it gets to that point, you'll probably end up finding yourself in a much better position where you maybe not even have that traumatic event or that severe symptom or something, whatever happens that has had to turn us. That's why I really would love, and I want to figure out a way to try and get this message out more to the youth, because I mean, they're invincible as youth, the young, and Rhett's got some boys that are fit and strapping, and he's trying to show them the way, but they feel like, and your youngest son, Rhett, is really health conscious. He does a great job, and
he's in tune.
And he's really focused. But I mean, he's in incredible shape too. But there's a lot of kids out there that just, it's terrible what we're feeding them. It's terrible what they're eating, and they won't feel it necessarily at this stage. But when they turn 30, 35, 40, 45, that's when they start feeling all the negatives of what they're doing to their body.
I don't want to call out my two stepsons too much, but I do want to say that you can tell, it's so funny how genetically they're so different. They kind of ate the same way for a long time. The younger one is thin as a rail. You can see every ripple of muscle in his body. It looks like like Bruce Lee. But his older brother, not the same. Let's just say he's got more weight than he'd like to have, and he just didn't think about it. He was comfortable. He was okay with it. He has this real relaxed mental attitude, and I'm thankful for that. But even though they have that same thing going on, as far as the food, it can react totally different, even with the same genes that they have from the same mother and father. So it's going to be different for each person. But it's good to see that they're both getting serious about their health. And I was really glad to see that my older son was getting excited. Matter of fact, he had my dumbbells. I went to get my dumbbells the other day. I was like, where are my dumbbells at? They were in his bedroom. He had them up because he's always in front of the doggone PlayStation. He had them in front of the TV so he could lift weights while he was talking to his friends and doing stuff on
Nice.
And he started eating those burger bowls with the eggs and stuff. Unfortunately, he works at a restaurant that sells pizzas and gives him pizza when he goes home a lot of times, and it's been hard to get him off of that. That's where I'm so thankful that we have a movement going on in this country right now where the government is trying to say no more poison in the food. It's going to be a tough battle, but the person who's leading it, RFK Jr., I think he's doing as good a job as can be expected considering the machine that has been built into place to make us sick. and to keep us on the treadmill of healthcare. And it's the fleecing of America and the killing of America at the same time. We got a question from Don Bailey. Did you have to get your A1C to under 6 to get the weight to start to go down? I am 6'3" and waiting to see the weight loss.
Unfortunately, I don't think the two are specifically related. So your A1C, I did not have to wait for my A1C to come down before weight loss happened. But I know weight loss occurs at different stages for different people. We've seen that a lot in the comments and in the community where some people have been on a very strict, at least they say, very strict carnivore diet for 6 months and not really experienced that. But one of the things we see a lot is your body does go through a lot of changes, and it depends on where you're at. And some people don't see the weight loss immediately, but it will eventually. You will start seeing the changes, and that's why it's so important to take measurements and do other things, because your body goes through a lot of recompensation during that time. We're really kind of in our community, the Healing Humanity community, are talking a lot about these smart scales, because it measures more than just your weight. It's measuring your bone density, your muscle weight, your fat weight, and that kind of thing. So you can actually see changes that are occurring, maybe not directly on just one measurement on the scale, but you're seeing your muscle weight increase, your bone density increase, which is heavier. So you're not seeing it on the scale, but your fat is decreasing. So there are a lot of different things to look at with that. And so I just encourage you to keep going. You want to correct that A1C anyway. And if the weight falls off in addition to that, that's a good thing. But A1C is more important than anything. Get that corrected first.
And I know from experience that it's easy to fall into self-deception when it comes to what you eat. And also from talking to people who speak to me directly, where they'll say, yeah, I hide when I eat the stuff I'm not supposed to eat. I don't want my family to know because I'm trying to be carnivore, and they'll sneak those things and binge eat stuff. And, if you're lying to yourself, you're probably not telling the truth to the community either. Not saying that's the case for you, and I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but I do know that it is a fact of human nature that we don't want to expose what we know we shouldn't be doing, and we'll lie to ourselves to try to make it better. And then we wonder why things aren't working out. And that's why when you ask about people who are doing ketovore or keto and things like that, a lot of times you say, yeah, I'm doing keto, I'm following what Dr. Berry says, but then you're also going to the store and buying all those keto products that have all that other junk in it, and you're just self-defeating.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little too, Dante. Year two, so year one I was pretty flawless carnivore. Year two, I decided, okay, well, let's see what ketovore looks like, and I was doing the same thing. I was lying to myself. I was binge eating at times. There was, I lost control for a little bit, and it's real. I mean, that sugar addiction is absolutely real, and the memes that float around on the internet, I came across one day that said, nothing tastes as good as feeling healthy feels. And that one just kind of stuck with me as my mantra going along. There was another one that said, food is fuel. It's not my comfort. It's not my reward, right? Food is fuel. And if we look at food differently and we put the proper fuel into our bodies and really pay attention to the garbage ingredients that are in them, you're going to see change. I was a 44 waist when I started, and I'm now down to a 33 waist size. And I gained weight from time to time, but like Ashley was saying about those measurements, right? It's important because there was a time where I was 10 pounds heavier than I am now, but I was still losing inches around the waist. So really odd what the body does and how it fluctuates, but think of food differently and you're going to find success.
Well, the same mass of muscle weighs more than the same mass of fat. So, yeah, a lot of times you're putting on muscle and don't know it. Cruz Santana had a question. Anyone experienced cramps on their chest while on carnivore? I haven't had any cramps in my chest. I have had cramps in my abdominal areas before that were unusual, but those are very rare. And but I was prone to cramps long before this as well. I used to get Charlie horse in my leg long before carnivore diet. It would be a regular thing. The one time back when I was doing salt a lot heavier, I started to trim back some of the salt, and I was having leg cramps for a little while. But trimming it back a little bit got rid of it. And then I know Adam Lacey over at Healing Humanity, he cut out salt altogether, and it did that for him, and he was able to keep on going. Salt is, for me, still a necessity. And for a lot of people, I think salt is a necessity. I had salt in this drink that I just had. I had 1 ounce of Soleil water in with this 800 milliliters of club soda that I just had. And it keeps me going. It's where the energy comes from, the electrolytes. I need them. But some people are able to get away without it. Hey, there you go. Yeah, I keep those in the car. Those little things.
Always have it with me, right on the keychain. Those little
Because,
good salt.
we talked about, like, you can go to McDonald's and get some hamburger patties, but if you have a hamburger patty without all the stuff on the burger, they're very bland when you get them from McDonald's. And if you use their salt, they have that dextrose that Ashley was talking about in there. So that's why I take my salt with me too.
Somebody asked, what do you eat per day? And they said, anybody. I can
Yes.
start. We have, this is awful for a woman. I eat 6 to 8 to 10 pieces of bacon every morning. Love it. I'm addicted to bacon. Then I might have plain yogurt.
But wait, why'd you say it's awful?
Well, because some people might think that's a lot of bacon for one person.
No, it's great for you. You're needing that fat, and you're getting that fat right now. So good
I know
job.
he lectures me all the time. I'm not getting enough fat. So once I used to not like bacon, and then all of a sudden I love it. And it's like, oh, thank the Lord, I'm getting my meat, my salt, and my fat all in one thing. And then for lunch, I had 5 bites of a steak that was left over from last night. And tonight I had salmon. And I do drink whatever this person was, Lori, daughter of the king. I do drink the smart water with electrolytes, and then I add the chow drops in it, probably two, 2 times a day. And
That's the keto chow
that's
drops.
my
Yeah, the
The
keto
keto
chow
chow.
drops.
the keto chow
Keto
drops,
chow
Dr.
drops.
Berry.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you eat?
I usually in the morning I'll eat some bacon. Sometimes I'll have
1 or 2 pieces.
yeah, I'll have 1 or 2 pieces of bacon, but I'll have maybe 4 eggs,
Yeah.
and then really don't technically need anything until later in the evening. But sometimes I'll have a little snack, and the snack that I have, which a lot of people do not like, but I really
Yeah,
like it.
he loves it.
And what is it, honey?
Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese.
Out of the carton.
Out of the carton. Kind of crazy, but anyway, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And
And
then
we
you
cook steak a lot, you know.
steak.
Yeah.
And I know Ashley and Rhett talked about your smash burgers, but what else is your daily?
Well, my daily go-to, I wake up in the morning and make my son, he has 5 eggs before he goes to school, and I get that ready for him. And then usually I wait and listen to my body. And when it says I'm hungry, then I give it the first meal. And that's usually around 11. And I'll usually go 5 or 6 eggs with some bacon. And we make beef sticks that are just ground beef and salt. So you can, depending on how you want to mix it, you can do a power bowl or whatnot. And that gets me through to the end of the day, where I'll typically either do a steak or smash burgers or, whatever protein we have. I do a lot of pulled pork, um, things like that. But, when I was uh, really losing weight fast, I was doing one meal a day. And that was a big meal, usually around 4 or 5 p.m., and that's really the only time I felt like eating anyway. And so I've kind of gotten away from OMAD, the one meal a day, and do one around 11 and then one around 4 or 5, and generally try to stop at that point because generally not too healthy to eat too late in the evening. Lots of salt. I add so much salt on everything still. I suffered from really bad leg cramps, like you, Dante. When I first got started, man, I would wake up with a real bad leg cramp every once in a while. My wife would, "What's going on?" And I'm, grabbing on, what's going on? But, and after I figured out the salt that I needed, that corrected.
And I'll say, like today, I made what was it, a 36-ounce New York strip steak. And I gave about a third of that to my wife because I'd already made her 6 eggs and some hamburger this morning. So she was doing good. And then tonight I had some what did we have? Pot roast that we'd had in the slow cooker most of the day today. And I add salt to all of it as well. Somebody had mentioned about having a hard time drinking water. I used to hate the idea of drinking water. I was just like, why drink? Why would you drink water? And when you got so many other good things to drink, because I was an addict, I was a junkie. I was addicted to sugar. But the club soda and adding salt, so strange. You got to be careful because salt will cause it to fizz up. You don't want to do it when it's too full. And if I could afford it, I'd get Topo Chico and all that stuff all the time. But I get the Publix brand club soda in the 2-liter bottles, and I clean out the store every time I go in there, and then I go over to the liquor store side and clean them out too because they're separate buildings. And but I call it my salt soda. I love it. I absolutely love it. And really, it's not that much different than water. I've just never been able to give up the bubbles that I got used to with soda. So it was my special treats. But oh yeah, Malden salt. Malden salt is really cool, man. I love that stuff.
It is really good salt. Ashley put us on that.
Yeah, it's such a great finishing salt.
It's a game changer.
We're fortunate to live in Texas, so I try to. I'm addicted now to the ads, the grocery store ads, because every time a new one comes out, I got to check it out. So I was looking a little earlier, and ribeyes go on sale again tomorrow. Mom and Dad, if you guys are in the DFW area at Kroger, $6.99 a pound. So sorry about you guys that aren't, but we got to take advantage of that. So ribeyes are my go-to. That's my if I get a chance, that's my preferred meal every night. Finish it with Malden salt. I've gotten to where I really just like it with the Malden salt only, and maybe a little bit of butter every once in a while. Cold butter with it.
Oh yeah, butter. That's part of it too. That's something new for me though. Butter. It's the first couple of years I didn't have butter. I didn't have eggs. I was strictly beef, water, salt, and whatever I tried to reincorporate to see if I could. Like I tried fruit at one time and it didn't do well with my gut. And then later on I tried it again and it wasn't bothering my gut anymore. But the fruit became a consumption problem because the sugar cravings came in. Like Rhett was talking about, you try to go a little ketovore when you're used to being carnivore. It's real easy for that addiction to take over. If you've got better impulse control than I do, then maybe you can do that kind of thing. But I found that when I stay strict, I'm doing the best. The only thing that I've really added back is grass-fed butter, pasture-raised eggs, and only lately have I let coffee come back in, but I really think it's doing me more harm than good. So I may get back out of it at some point. It's just that I do all the cooking in the house because for the past 4 years I've been doing it this way. And even though I have the easiest machine in the world, that Dreo Chef Maker does all the work for you. I can just plug it in, follow the instructions, and boom, there it is. But they still want me to do it. They're like, oh, I love the way you do it. You could do it too. Just stick the probe in. But since I want them to eat healthy, I wind up doing all the cooking. So it kind of gives me an excuse to have the coffee.
We've seen a lot in the community where the wives love when the husbands go on carnivore, because what happens, they end up doing a lot of the cooking now. So they're the grill masters. That's what tends to happen, right? And we don't mind it, right? I love cooking a steak on the grill for anybody now, but that's funny. I've seen a lot of those comments when the husbands and wives go on. It's like, well, I don't do near as much cooking anymore. The husband does it all on the grill. Love it.
No, I cooked for, we've been married nearly 58 years. I cooked all the time. He never even came in the kitchen. Maybe he could boil a cup of water or he could do an omelet. He could make a good omelet. Other than that, you didn't see him in the kitchen. Now, I'm not even allowed in the kitchen. He just cooks the steaks for the hamburger and he baked the salmon
Job,
tonight.
Dad.
So it was,
Job, Dad.
I'm not allowed to cook anymore, which is great after 58 years.
Now I
Oh,
know why I have more women on my channel than men. They're
Yeah,
all
exactly.
wanting to get their husband on it.
Exactly.
right.
Then you don't have to cook anymore.
Yes. Oh, I see. Mercy Me said, hubby has a Traeger. That's my baby right there. I love my Traeger. Yep. Traeger smoker.
Somebody asked about West Gold butter. I've never heard of West Gold butter. Have you guys ever heard of
Haven't
that?
either. Mm-mm.
Heard of Kerrygold, but it's not from New
Oh, the
Zealand.
grass-fed one from New Zealand. I have heard of that. I've never tried it though.
No.
I've never tried that. I get my, if you have a Costco near you, they have it's in a green package. It's a Kirkland brand, the Costco brand Kirkland. It's a grass-fed butter, and I think that's delicious. And that's what I go to for
That's
butter.
what we've been doing. Yeah.
Well, guys, it was great having you guys come together like this and being the first multiple group live stream that I've ever done. I'm honored to have had you on today. And I know we could probably keep going on all night, but it's getting late over here. I know it's getting late in some. Well, it's not getting late for you, Rhett. You're way out there in Washington.
No, he's
But,
I still have yard work to do.
but if there's no more questions from the people watching, I guess we'll just go ahead and call it quits here. Thank you guys for joining in with us and coming to see the carnivore family, the missionary family that went carnivore. And we'd love to have them back. If you guys think so, you should let me know in the comments, and maybe we can have them come back and talk to us again and maybe share some more of their stories in the mission field or their experiences with COVID and dealing with Canada and all the stuff that went on. But you can also go back and watch the video that we shared that got me started to want to bring them back in here and enjoy this time together.
Well, we're honored to be on your channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a real inspiration.
And don't forget to go subscribe to the Carnivore Brothers YouTube channel so you can find out more about what they're doing too.
Got more content coming soon, but thank you, Dante. We're inspired and honored to be on your channel. I mean, 4 years, and this is the first multi-stream that you've done. We're excited to be on your first list there. That's good.
Very much. Yes. Thank you so much.
It's been an honor to have you, and it's been an honor to have all you folks here. I guess that's all I got to say for now. So thank you for joining us, and we'll end it here. And if you guys want to hang out for a second and talk about anything before you go, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and roll the credits. Does anybody want some grease or fat?
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?